All right, let's get into it. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest, most high-stakes questions in all of technology. What's the fastest way to build an AI that's smarter than us? Because let's be real, the path we pick is probably going to define, well, everything.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. The entire AI world is basically split down the middle, making two giant competing bets. So, do we pour every dollar and every brain cell into building one single godlike superbrain? Or do we go a different route and create a whole society of specialized AIs that all have to work together?
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to set the stage and talk about this race to the singularity. Then, we'll dig into the two big strategies, the supergenius versus the AI society. After that, we'll see what the experts are saying, and we'll wrap it all up with what looks like the ultimate blueprint for the future. Right, so first things first, what's the end goal here? We're talking about the technological singularity. It's that wild sci-fi moment where artificial intelligence doesn't just match human intelligence, it completely blows past us, setting off an insane explosion of progress. And for a lot of people in the know, getting there first isn't just a race, it's the most important race in human history. And it really all boils down to these two completely different ways of thinking. On one side, you've got the super intelligent individual. The best way to think about this is like building a digital Einstein and then just relentlessly making it smarter and smarter. On the other side, you've got organizational intelligence. This is more like building a whole digital city of AIs, where each one has a specific job and they all have to collaborate to get big things done. All right, let's talk about our first contender, and honestly, this is the approach you've definitely heard the most about. This is the world of models like GPT and Gemini. The whole mantra here is super simple. Bigger is always better. So the core belief here comes from something called scaling laws, and the idea is kind of wild. It says that as you feed a single AI model more data and you give it more computing power, it doesn't just get a little bit better at what it does. It starts developing brand new skills, seemingly out of thin air. They call these emergent abilities, like zero-shot reasoning, which is just a fancy way of saying the AI can solve a problem it's never, ever seen before. It's kind of like you teach a kid a bunch of words, and then one day they just understand sarcasm. Nobody taught them that specifically, it just emerged. And you can totally see why this strategy is so popular, right? The playbook seems incredibly straightforward. You need a smarter AI? Just throw more data and more GPUs at it. It's a formula that's already been proven to work, and it's given us all the incredible AI tools that we're using right now. But, and this is a huge but, this race car is speeding towards some pretty serious walls. We're hitting a point of diminishing returns, where every little bit of extra intelligence costs way, way more in money and energy. We're talking about training new models that could use as much electricity as a small country. Plus, you're basically putting all your eggs in one very expensive, very complicated basket. And just to show you how big that bet is, get this. Right now, something like 99% of all the investment money in AI is flowing into this one single model approach. Okay, but what if nearly everyone is betting on the wrong horse? This brings us to the challenger, the other big idea. It imagines a totally different future, not with one superbrain, but with a whole bustling society of AIs all working together. The whole philosophy here is, why try to reinvent the wheel? Let's just copy what works for us. Think about humanity's greatest achievements, the atomic bomb, for example. That didn't come from one lone genius in a lab. The Manhattan Project was a massive success of organizational intelligence. You had thousands of specialists, each a master of their own little piece of the puzzle, all coordinated towards one huge goal. That's exactly what the AI society approach is trying to build. So what's the big advantage here? Well, it's something called parallel innovation. Instead of one AI thinking step by step, imagine having thousands of little specialized AIs all trying different solutions to the same problem at the same time. It's way more resilient, too. If one agent fails, the whole system doesn't go down. And it opens up the field to a much wider group of talented people, not just elite mathematicians, but folks who are brilliant at designing complex systems. Of course, anyone who's ever worked in a big company knows the downside. You get meetings. Lots of meetings. That's communication overhead. It's hard to get everyone on the same page, you can get internal competition, and security becomes a total nightmare. It's just messy. And yet, even with all that messiness, check out this trend. The market for these autonomous agents is projected to just explode, from less than $500 million to over $10 billion in under a decade. That's not just a small shift.
the smart money is definitely starting to hedge its bets. So which one is it? Which path wins? The super genius or the AI society? Well, as it turns out, the deepest analysis suggests we might be asking the wrong question entirely.
Okay, now don't let this formula scare you off. I promise it's actually pretty simple. Think of it like you're hunting for treasure. The stuff on top of the line is what you want more of. You want really good treasure hunters, that's usable capability, and you want a ton of them searching all over the island, that's breadth of exploration. The stuff on the bottom is what you want less of. You want to reduce how long each search takes, cycle time, and how much time they waste arguing over the map, coordination cost. Simple, right? Maximize the top, minimize the bottom.
And this is really where it all clicks into place. It's not about which approach is better overall, it's about using the right tool for the job. For messy, creative problems with a ton of unknowns, think scientific discovery, you absolutely want a multi-agent society exploring every possible path. But for a really logical, straightforward task, like solving a formal math proof, you don't want a committee. You want your single best genius working on it because that cuts out all the wasted time on coordination. So, all of this leads us to the final and really powerful takeaway. The fastest path to the singularity isn't picking one road over the other. It's about combining them into one seriously powerful hybrid system. There's a cool name for this idea, co-resonance. And here's the best way to think about it. Those huge, powerful super genius models, that's your V12 engine. It's pure raw horsepower. But an engine all by itself is just going to sit on a block and make a lot of noise. You need the rest of the car, the chassis, the wheels, the steering, to actually use that power and get somewhere. And that is the AI society. This gives us a really practical blueprint for how we should be investing our time and money. The majority of resources still need to go into making that engine as powerful as possible. But then a huge chunk has to go into building the best possible chassis, the systems that let all the agents work together. And just as critical is that last little slice, investing in the rules of the road. The brakes, the seatbelts, the safety systems to make sure this incredibly powerful new vehicle actually heads in a direction that benefits all of us. Which leaves us with this final and frankly enormous thought. We're not just designing a piece of software anymore. We are architecting a new kind of economy, a new kind of society from the ground up. So the question we all have to start asking ourselves is, what do we want the rules of that new society to be?